Okay, hello all. It's Anni here, and also Mandy, my sweet friend from Texas, is here with me.
Hey.
And we are the Caffeine-Free coaches, and this is the support channel for all the caffeine quitters. And today we are going to continue our talk with Mandy about our own healing journey and everything that we are just wanted to share with you, things that we feel that it's important to us and maybe hopefully will help you in your own recovery journey. So warmly welcome and grab some water, and I hope you enjoy these conversations. Let's just put the chat also on. All right. So today we're gonna talk about a little bit about this recovery journey in our woman's point of view. We are talking about a little bit about hormones and about adrenals. And I also want to point out that what we are sharing is our experience, our healing journey. So if you are not experiencing the
Yes.
same, can be that you heal much sooner, or maybe you are already healed and you are thinking, no way, it's gonna take so long, or what they are talking about. Remember that we are all our own recovery journey, and that's why I also want to point that out, that nobody gets too frustrated about, because always remember citizen science is what we are doing here, and that's also what this channel is all about. So Mandy, where do we
Yes.
start today?
Yes. We're learning all on our own as we go. Yeah, I'm excited about today's topic because it's continuing in what we always say. We always say that we are sharing our experience. And today I wanted to talk about a lot about fact and opinion. It is a fact that caffeine is a drug. It is a fact that it's a psychoactive stimulant drug.
Mm-hmm.
It is a toxin, a poison. That's fact, right?
Yep.
It is a fact that we quit cold turkey. It's a fact that we were on the drug most of our lives. It is a fact continuing that we quit and we started having all kinds of symptoms and that we were confused and scared, and definitely a fact that we started learning along the journey, our own healing experience and healing journey, that we are definitely healing from the drug. That is a fact. And so I think a lot of the time people, it can't be this, it can't be that, like that. I talk about that a lot because it can be really confusing for people that are going through this post-acute withdrawal journey, people that have fallen off the mountain, that we talk about a lot, falling off the mountain from the drug. We talk a lot about the way that caffeine does affect us, but moving forward, I think a lot of it, now that we're at 3 years and we're sharing our experience, we are getting to that point where we were in the coma for 3 years when we were in the coma our whole life really on this drug, but then everything was more exacerbated when we quit. Everything was confusing and scary, like I said, and how we know if you've experienced this. And then you get to a point where you're doing so much better that clarity really starts to be the main focus. And I see it in my own journey, and in the future, how things are going to be even more clear. I'm going to have more clarity. Things are going to start being more invited into my life. And I really do think it's about growth. I think this journey and life is about growth, but just being at 3 years and seeing, like, after being in that coma, like just seeing all the new things just budding and opening up, and how it's just so important that when you are in the beginning stages, if you've fallen off the mountain and you're experiencing post-acute withdrawal symptoms and you're in those beginning stages, that if you cannot do something like work out, or you just feel so depressed, you barely want to go outside, And you're not being lazy. You're not
Yeah.
broken and you're not being lazy. You cannot do those things. Like your brain and body like won't allow. Maybe the brain at some point wants to do those things, which is kind of where I'm at now. Like I want to do so much more than what I wanted to do a year ago, 2 years ago in this journey of healing. But there is a time when physically, some of us, especially women, some men too. So that's why you have to just like really look at your own journey and not try to not compare yourself to anyone else, even if it's a female or not, because it is your own journey. You are affected a certain way from this drug, all the different factors, whatever. But if you've gone to the doctor, you've got all your tests done, you're fine physically, and you've quit this drug, which is a fact. You quit the drug, you're abstinent, and you're healing, and you're going through all these symptoms, then it's what it is. It's what your body's going through. And if you physically cannot do something, you have to surrender in those moments. And people that haven't gone through this, they don't understand what that means to surrender. They could say like you're lazy or you're just feeling sorry for yourself, whatever. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like when you physically and mentally, but especially physically, because when you're going through the mental anguish of it, it's like the worst thing in the world. But if you're going through the mental anguish and the physical with it too, you just physically, because a lot of people say work out, especially people that quit alcohol. They're like, working out was what saved me, blah blah blah. Well, when you go through something like this and you can't work out to get that extra, that boost or whatever, and you physically know that you can't work out, then you can't. Like what are you supposed to do? And you try. Like it's not like we just sit at home because we want to. Like we're not not trying to work out. Like we did it. We went on the walks. We did it. And I believe, and this might be an opinion more than a fact, because I really want to kind of do that whole fact and opinion thing today, that if you do not feel good after you work out, or you're completely worn out or exhausted the next day and you feel worse, I don't think that's normal. I think that when you're healed and your body's working for you, even if your mind somewhat feels a little off, but your body's able to do it. If you're able to work out and you feel great afterwards, then obviously work out.
Yes.
But if you're going through this journey and you feel terrible after you work out, then don't do it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because, and this is the point that we always try to make, that when you get to the point of your healing, when you can, which you will get there, maybe way too much, and then the next day I have to sleep all day because that's just where my body's at.
Yeah.
And I have to surrender to that.
Yes, I also want to point out, I did work out even in second year. I did do a lot of workout, and I was exhausted still, and some people said me rude things, and I did felt like very bad, and I did cry that I do something wrong because people were pushing me, and then I started to realize that my adrenals were really fucked up after 30 years of using that highly amount of that drug. And we are also throwing facts here. We are not just throwing our opinions like people that we are helping. There are a lot of people like me, not just me, like that my adrenal glands was so fucked up that I couldn't work out. So just want to point out that don't ever go to judge somebody else. If you are able to do things and you are happy about your life and you can do all, just go on with your life. That's amazing. But these things that we are sharing here are also facts. So I have cut back to exercise, and now I can do the little things, and I'm very grateful for those, and I continue healing my adrenal glands. So
exactly. Yes, thank you for that. It's so important. It's just, and we see that, right? We see that we can do more, a little bit more and more. And that's why we always say focus on the improvements. It's not like we go from the coma to running a marathon. It's slow. It's a journey. It's a process. And we're learning that along the way. It's not like we don't want to be able to work out and we're not pushing. I just don't believe you should. I think there's a fine line of taking baby steps, but never just like pushing yourself. And then even if you think, or like you, Annie, you thought that you were hearing it from people, no, you need to get out there and bust your butt or go work out. You're not doing enough. And that's why you feel like this. And then you're like, okay. And then you go and you do it, and then you feel terrible afterwards. And so even though that happened and you did that and you pushed yourself, you still are recovering. You might've had a little bit of a bump from that. Was your wave from that specifically? We don't know. It could have contributed to it somewhat, but it irritated. Yeah. The only way that I look at it is that if we're still healing and you do something like that to exacerbate it, like for some people, they think, taking supplements or the working out, or for me, I was like, oh my God, if I eat something wrong, am I going to have like a crazy wave? Some people think getting sick, or not just think it, like it was a fact. Like there are people that have gotten sick and then they felt worse. Was that because the wave was happening anyway? Or I think it just, we talk about this a lot, when there's a stressor while you're healing, your body is essentially, I don't like to use the word weak. I like to use the word, it's just still healing. It's sensitive. You're going to feel things more when you're healing. It's like if you have a cold or the flu, you're not going to go and run that day, go push yourself. No one's telling you to push yourself when you got the freaking flu. It's time to rest. And our bodies know, especially in that wave and in that window. In the window, we can usually do more. And in the wave, it's time, our body is telling us it's time to rest.
Yeah.
I just don't believe you're supposed to push yourself in that time. I think you need to do, you can do what you feel comfortable doing. This is our journey. If like, for example, when I was in the wave and the only thing I could physically do was get up and make myself some food, I think like pushing yourself, that we got to go. It's just when we get to a point where we are completely recovered, we can do more,
Yeah.
And when our adrenals have been, and I say this all the time, that this isn't just adrenal fatigue because we woke up one day and because we're older or because of genetic factors or whatever, we have adrenal issues. No, it was from the caffeine and excessive amounts over time. Because what does caffeine do? It raises adrenaline and cortisol, which comes from the adrenal glands. And that's what gives us energy. And so like all day long, we're affected for 30 years. When we're younger, we can handle it a little bit better. And then so like we fell off the mountain somewhere around 40. And our body just said no more. Our adrenals were just burnt out, but they were burnt out because my hands were in my, it's cold in here and I had my hand in, so I'm like that. They're burnt out, and I had my hand between my legs to warm up. They're burnt out because of the drug. And then now what we're healing and what we've come together to understand for us is that our whole body is healing. Our brain is healing, connected to the adrenals. That's why we talk a lot about the HPA axis. If you want to look that up, you can. And it just takes time. So like when we say for us 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, like we're just talking about we're still healing, but we're talking about complete recovery to where we know that when we get to that specific spot in our recovery, that we can work out all day. We can go to work, whatever you're doing, you can go out with your friends, whatever you feel like you want to do, whatever makes you happy as an individual, you can do it. And then you go to bed that night and you rest and stay to be able to do it all over again if you want to. And then if you want to have a lazy day and lazy Netflix day, you can, but you have your mind working for you because you're all, everything's working all in balance, your neurotransmitters and everything. It doesn't mean that you're having like a bad day. You're just having a rest day, a lazy day. But if you want to, you can go have a crazy fun day at the beach or, at a park or amusement park. You can do whatever. You can go to like all the concerts you want. And then you go to bed that night, you rest, and then the next day you do whatever you want again that next day. But when you're healing and your adrenals have been affected and you're in this healing process, see, like when you're on the caffeine and you haven't fallen off the mountain yet, you're still getting that boost of adrenaline, that fake energy. You're still getting the cortisol, the adrenaline. you're still getting the blocked adenosine to making you feel less tired. But when you quit and you don't have all that being blocked, even though that's bad for you, that's not good for you, but that's what is making us feel like we have energy, because caffeine does not give you energy. It's just raising your adrenaline, making you feel jacked up. I read one time, I think it was like the Reddit decaf, that they said that like drinking caffeine was the same as like stepping on a snake or like seeing a snake. That's exactly what it does to you. It just like, it shocks you. It's just a shock to your body. You know, it's a stressor. It's liquid stress.
Yeah.
But it feels like energy, right? When we have, that's why people are adrenaline junkies, because it gives them that acute sense of excitement but it's stress. But anyway, so when we quit, we're not getting that raised adrenaline. We're not getting that blocked adenosine anymore. And so like the exhaustion is like so prevalent. It's like right in your face. Your body starts to do this whole healing process. What we've talked about before, the whole homeostasis and allostasis, all that's going on. All these different things are happening. We're going through all of this healing. All of these symptoms are happening because of the anxiety, because the body's like in the stress state of like, why aren't you on the drug anymore? All this confusion to the brain like that, like shocks the brain to get off of it for some people. And then now the exhaustion is exposed. And when we go to bed at night, there's so much healing happening that when we wake up the next day, we're still tired, because that rest for that night while we're still healing is we're paying that debt off for like however long it takes the individual. For us, we're still healing. It's 3 years for us because we were on it for 30, 35 years. And even the whole timeline of that might not even matter if you're younger. You still might be like, oh, well, I'm younger and I'm at 2 years and I'm still healing. Well, that's just the way that's why, like, don't compare yourself to others. That's just the way you're healing, even though you're younger. So I don't really like to use the whole timeline. Some people might have only been on the drug for a year or 5 years. And they fell off the mountain for some reason. For us, it took the time it took for us to fall off the mountain. Some people, it might be when they're 20. Some people might be when they're 70. So, I mean, this is all so important, you know? And so like, however long it's going to take your body, when you go to bed that night, your body is paying back. What is it called? Like paying back the piper, paying Paul to pay Peter or whatever. And you're just paying off your credit card debt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the saying, but you're paying off your credit card debt. So it's like, oh, well, I go to bed and I'm not rested. I don't feel good. It's like, yeah, because you're healing the damage that was caused along the way from the drug. But when you do get to that time frame of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whenever your adrenals have calmed down and you've paid back your credit card debt, when you go to bed that night, that's when you're going to feel great the next day, no matter what you did the day before. You might be a little bit kind of tired if you did something, your body's not used to it yet. But when you're healed, you should be able, that's when I know, and we talked about this before, that's when I know that I'm more so 100%. Even though I'm doing so much better, and even though so many things are improving, when I go to bed at night, when I have a really fun, crazy day and I go to bed that night, when I wake up the next day, I feel good.
Yay.
And I'm ready to like over again. Like, and I know I'm going to get there, you know, like recovery, like our whole purpose of sharing what we're doing here lately is not to scare anybody. It's information. It's our journey. And we're just sharing it the way we have experienced it. Yeah. And you're gonna experience it your own way, right? You're gonna see it though. You're gonna stay abstinent from the drug, and you're gonna see all these things unfold and unravel. And you're gonna see how your body heals in its own time. And then you're going to be able to do whatever you want to do. If you want to go and live in the mountains, or you want to go be a movie star, like whatever you want to do, you know, you can do it. You just have to wait until your body, most likely have to wait until your body is healed. And that's the part of the surrender. Yeah. That while you're going through it and you physically and mentally cannot do some stuff, that's why Cato says in his videos, just live, just survive those days, because eventually in time, everything's just going to work. while it's healing, it's not necessarily working because it's healing. It's all about healing. And like, some people get frustrated this way. And it's like, I don't know any other way to explain it because this is how I'm experiencing it.
Yeah. And
I
hey,
just know that our
yeah.
body's working more properly. It
And
just makes sense.
remember, guys, it's always when you, if you feel like you are healed and you naturally move on, then that's what also is purpose. Like, then you don't need this support channel. So I don't see
Mm-hmm.
why this would be interrupting anyone, because people, when they heal, they just move on. And like, not everyone are affected same way. Like for me, why I have to share these scary brain symptoms that I had, because I know many have the equal symptoms and same symptoms. Maybe some people doesn't have these kind of brain symptoms. Some people can be that they don't have these physical symptoms as much as we do, and they have the mental symptoms so intense. We have the both, but like we all are a little bit maybe different way affected, but what I think we can all agree, that caffeine is a
Yeah.
drug and a poison, and that's why this my channel is also like, I wanna bring all the information out that I can ever get about this topic. And that's why I hopefully will interview more guests at the future in their journey. So yes.
The more that share to say their way of the way they healed. And I've noticed this a lot. And I've been out of the quitting caffeine group since December, and I got out of the Reddit group. But every now and then I'll poke into the Reddit group, like once a month, I'll poke in there and just see if there's anything new. And there was someone, I don't know who, because in Reddit, your identity's kind of, you don't really have to show, I don't know who it is, but they're at 2.5 years, and they were like, it just keeps getting better and that's like a nice way of saying you're still healing, because they're seeing like all these improvements still. And just from talking to veterans that are like at 4 and 5 and past 5 years, they're all like, it just kept getting better. And so that's how it's not that like up to 3, 4, 5 years, you're struggling so bad every day. And it does just depend on where you're at in your journey. Some people, it could be 2 years. Some people, it could be 3. I think for me, just from everything I've already been through, some of the people I've talked to, just the way I feel like for me at 4 years is when I'm really going to be able to work out and feel good after I work out. Like the other day I was in the garden, and I was out there in the sun, and here in Texas, it's been like 100-degree weather, which is hot. And I was out there replanting plants and repotting and being in the sun. I was out there for a good 2-3 hours. And the next day, I thought I was like, oh no. And so it was still in my head a little bit. So to me, that's a little bit of anxiety. That means a little bit of anxiety, that I was like, oh no, as I was doing it, there were moments of like, oh, am I going to feel bad tomorrow? But when I think that, like, because I'm still healing, but I think that when I'm 100% healed and recovered, when I'm doing activities like that, I'm not even going to think, oh, am I going to be a little sore tomorrow or tired tomorrow? Or
no.
You know what I mean? So like, I see the improvement. Huh?
Yeah, that's so right. We are not
I
gonna
see the
let you don't
improvement
think about it. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I see the improvement in the fact that at least I can do those things, even though there's a little bit of anxiety still in the fact of questioning, or not necessarily worrying anymore, but just kind of, it's still in the back of my mind a little bit sometimes. But yet here I am outside enjoying myself, like actually okay. I wasn't like super energy when I woke up, but I can tell lately in the mornings I have been having, because in the wave I was sleeping till noon. Well, after the wave, in the wave I was actually so wire tired that I couldn't. This is just my experience. I was so wire tired, I would wake up just kind of like, but then after the wave, and it took me so long to come out of the wave. That's why I always say, like, right after the wave and then going into the window, it doesn't necessarily mean like right when you're in the window, you're like amazing. It kind of slowly faded. And I was doing so much healing in the wave that I mean, I was sleeping at night, even though some nights I had insomnia, but it really wasn't until after the wave that like a different type of healing was happening with like I needed sleep until noon. Like I would go to bed at like 11, and then I was staying up a little bit later, like going to bed at like midnight, which I don't like, and then I was sleeping till noon. So I was sleeping like 12 hours.
Yeah.
But see, in the wave, I was actually wanting to go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I was sleeping till like 8 o'clock. So that's about 12 hours too.
Yeah.
It was just different. And it's like in the window, I was just sleep. It was like different type of sleep. It was like, I could tell it was like really restorative. Oh, and here's something that's really interesting to me. I find myself talking to people that are still on caffeine, and they'll say something like, and you hear this all the time, or you'll see it in comments on videos. You'll hear, people saying, "Oh, well, I sleep like a baby on caffeine." They're like, I can drink caffeine at 6 p.m. or at 10 at dinner, and I sleep like a baby. And I'm like, okay. And so like it's almost like it's almost like they're so frustrated that I'm saying what I'm saying about it. And they're like, oh, well, I'm fine on it,
I was like that.
Yeah, and I was too. Like I could sleep. But here's another thing. I was also drinking alcohol. But here's something about fact and opinion, that because this whole thing is like fact and opinion day, which is like my new thing, and I might be bringing that up a lot lately or in the future, like talking about fact. It's freaking fact. Especially with alcohol, like if you're on caffeine, you're most likely on alcohol, and maybe not everybody, but people think that when they drink alcohol, oh, I'm sleeping good. It's like, you're really kind of just passed out. You're not really necessarily. So fact, if you're on caffeine or alcohol and you think that you're getting good sleep, you are not. This is a fact. You are not going into deep REM sleep. You're not. So even if you are a fast metabolizer, whatever it is, and you think you're getting good rest just because you're sleeping, doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting deep. It's not that it doesn't necessarily, you are not getting deep, because there's different levels of sleep, and that deep REM sleep, you do not get into it if you're on caffeine.
Yeah.
And so you're not getting restorative sleep. And so like for us, now that we're completely abstinent from it, and we are finally getting that restorative sleep, that deep sleep, that's where so much healing is happening. Yes. But it doesn't just take one night of sleep or a month or 2 years of sleep. It takes like a lot of sleep to pay what I was talking about earlier, to pay back that debt. But how cool is that? We're finally getting that deep restorative sleep. That is a fact.
Yes. Yes.
I love it.
And how much did you use your credit card, my lovely viewers? That's something that we all need to figure out. My caffeine credit card was used so hardly. The debt, I took all the debt that I could. I used it so much, so wildly, I was so much enraged, impulsive, and now I can be so much calm. Even all the shit that I have been having and doubts and stuff, like I can just like share my thing and be happy about that, because I know everyone is in their own journey.
Yeah.
But before I would have been like...
I feel so much more...
like that. Before I would have been angry and pissed off.
Angry, frustrated,
yes.
Pissed off, wanting to fight, wanting to argue this out. And it's like, now we're just like, hey, we're just sharing our story. We're just sharing our experience. Yeah, I was so irritated, road rage. Now I'm so calm and patient. I'm just like, oh, like if I'm in traffic or I'm at the store and I have to wait in line, I just sit there and like wait, because I'm patient. But you see everybody else, they're like, oh, dang it. I think how many fights or how much how many car accidents are caused by road rage from caffeine alone, right?
Many.
I don't know.
Yep. Do you want to, Mandy, that we're gonna take that hormones picture? Maybe we could talk a little bit about that. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, that's a good segue.
So here,
yes, that's a good segue into that, because like...
Yes, now you can see this, hopefully this picture about these hormones. So there is like estrogen, and is that the progesterone, that another one, or the blue
No,
one?
that's a good segue into this, because why are people having that road rage? Because their hormones are jacked up.
Yes. So now the picture is there, Mandy. If you can also maybe look that, if you want to look at in YouTube, so you can just maybe explain how you did wanted to explain about a little bit about how in our women's in that hormone peaks. I wasn't sure.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can't see it when I'm looking at the screen here, but then yes, I can see it over here on my other screen.
Maybe
so
let's
like, yeah, right where, and this is for women. Men have hormones too, but a lot, if you read Caffeine Blues, you don't even have to read the whole book, but it does say that statistically women are more affected, and children are more affected by caffeine than men statistically. That doesn't necessarily mean that men are not affected, obviously, because we have a lot of men that have they have hormones. But for women that still have a period cycle, we tend to see a lot of healing happening, more exacerbated healing, or a lot more symptoms pop up when certain times of our cycle is when the different hormones are fluctuating. So like if you see on the screen day 0, then there's day 1. So he has it written day 0, day 5, day 14, and then day 28. So usually a cycle is 28 days. Mine, now that I've been off caffeine, mine is normally 27 to 29 days. But before it would be like up to 34 days or so technically I think a healthy period should be somewhere around 28 days on an average.
Yes.
But if it's before, if it's 25, I think to like 32, I've looked it up. It still means you have a healthy period, a healthy cycle. But I think I don't necessarily think that means the healthiest. I think that's just the average, that it's 28 days. So let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so around where, no. Will you go a little further in the time on that video to where I think he's talking about estrogen here. Will you go a little bit further where where he brings in progesterone as well?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Now there is
can.
progesterone. Yeah. I looked at the blue light, but now there is like purple. It's like now about.
Can you go a little further?
Okay. Now it's 10. It's at the. It's
Or can you share the other photo instead of the video?
I can only show this one. Like I couldn't capture anyone. Like can you see what I'm showing? Can you see in the YouTube where I'm at now? What I'm showing?
Or the viewers?
Yep. There is
Okay.
estrogen and progesterone.
I don't know why that's not coming up for me.
Are you looking my live?
I don't know why that's not coming up for me.
Oh.
I'm not far enough, that's why. Sorry. Ah.
Let's see. I'm gonna just do the. But okay, I cannot just change that.
We're new to this.
Yeah,
there
we
go.
are. Okay.
Okay.
So
it's okay. That's okay.
Okay. So you can see.
So now I'm there. So see in the purple where progesterone rises around, see where it says between 14 and 28 days. So a lot of women, when estrogen rises, which is estrogen, around day 10 to 14, and then 14 when the LH rises, which is the luteal hormone, I think. Not sure, but that's day 14. That's normally when we have ovulation. And a lot of women experience symptoms around ovulation. And then when the progesterone rises again, somewhere around the peak of day 21, a lot of women will experience symptoms then as well. And then when it drops and then we start our period around day 28, whenever we start our period, and then that starts day 1 again, it can get all a little bit confusing. That's when we start experiencing not necessarily symptoms on day 1, but sometimes I've noticed I'll experience some healing symptoms like around day 3 or 4, maybe 5, or like even further, it should be over.
Yeah.
And I never, ever, ever had that on caffeine. I always had stuff. See where it says 14 to 28? That's the luteal phase. And that's when a woman says they have PMS or PMDD, that's when those symptoms would occur between 14 and 28 days. That's the luteal phase. That's that PMS time. And then on caffeine, I would have that PMS, those symptoms. It was really just symptoms. And then I'd start my period, and from period all the way to day 1 to day 14, I'd be fine. That's when I was like amazing. I'd be like working out. I was social. I was like, go, go, go. And then boom, I'd start ovulation to day 1. So that whole luteal phase again, PMS, rage, anger, irritability, paranoia, depression, like all these symptoms, right? But I was still functional. I'd still be able to go to work.
Yeah.
But that's how caffeine was affecting me. Then I quit. After about 4 months, I stopped having the PMS and I started having things in ovulation, day 21, 4th, 5th day of my period. Never had that before. That's when I always say that's healing stuff. That's when healing is happening. And also it's just, I think the way that when we're free from the drug and we are healing and our brain and our neurotransmitters are healing, that when that normal, because this is the normal fluctuation for every woman. That is the normal rise and fall of the hormones for every woman's cycle. It's just that when we're on the drug, that normal rise and fall is affected differently. And then when we're off of it and we're healing, that normal rise and fall is affected. Something to do with the way that the central nervous system and the endocrine system are talking to each other. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I have a hormone issue, I have hormone problems. It's just that the way when we're healing, it's not almost like a stressor. It is essentially a stressor to the body. Like the body can detect when it's rising, when the estrogen's rising and the progesterone's rising. And for some reason it causes a stress. But the way that the adrenals are affected for women and men, the way that I'm thinking progesterone and estrogen so much, adrenaline, the way that the adrenaline and cortisol are being synthetically, not just synthetically, but overly produced when we're on caffeine, it is stilling sex hormones for men, but it's stilling them from women too. And so if it's stilling, because like if you look it up, this is all really interesting. Like if you have so much cortisol and adrenaline being raised, then it's called the progesterone still. It stills progesterone from a woman. And that's when I think the PMS happens, because that progesterone rise and the purple that you see between day 14 and 28, if you have so much adrenaline pumping out through your body, then that progesterone is not as high, it's lowered, and then estrogen's higher than progesterone at that point. But when we're off of the drug and everything's healing, I think that goes back, and then that normal rise and fall mixed with the central nervous system and everything, it's just exacerbated and it feels awful. But I know that it just makes sense that once our adrenals, because of the damage that caffeine caused, once the adrenals are healed and everything's working properly, we don't experience those really intense symptoms anymore. I think that, and this is just an opinion, but I do believe that when we're around 4 or 5 years, hopefully 4, that when we have our cycle and everything's calmed down and our brain is, central nervous system has healed, our adrenals have healed, everything's working in sync, we'll probably just be maybe for like 3 days around our cycle. It might be like rest time, rejuvenation time. Maybe we don't hang out with as many people, but it's not that we don't want to, it's just time to rejuvenate.
Yes.
But we feel fine. Like we're watching Netflix, we're just spending time with, complete close loved ones. Yeah. I just really believe that we're not going to have these symptoms anymore when we're more healed, because that's why it's so important to understand the adrenals. And if our adrenals were taxed and stressed and they're healing, then everything is going to just feel weird and off while we're in the process of still healing.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of information, but
and also I want to say that first, like in this journey, like my periods was like, they were awful, and I just like somehow did get through the day and stuff. And then later in the journey, it started that my ovulation was kind of a little bit more worse. Like I did have more of those head symptoms and dizziness and disconnection around the ovulation and the brain feeling. But now I have been having periods where I can go fishing and I can clean and I can organize and do stuff and plan. And that's what I'm like expecting. Like even when I was like caffeinated, I was so functional in my periods because of the stress. Because the stress that I was taking, I did kind of numb all the symptoms. Caffeine also makes us numb. It makes our body numb, our places numb. So it kind of like, that's why they put caffeine also to painkillers and medicines, because it takes a pain away. You can like be beaten up by caffeinated state and you're like, oh, whatever. But when they take all the drug away from you, you're gonna be a little bit more sensitive, I can tell. So keep that in mind, guys.
Exactly. But especially when we're healing, we're more sensitive. But then like when we're healed, it's that our body's gonna be able to accept that sensitivity. It's just gonna work. It's just, and I think Annie, you have too. Just on a whole, not necessarily that every man can work out, especially in the beginning. If you've fallen off the mountain and going through post-acute withdrawal, most likely in the first year, and this is just kind of this is what I've seen throughout the journey, is that most people that have fallen off the mountain and going through this, men or women, cannot work out in the first year. If you can, then that's great. But I'm just saying, like, men and women, but for some reason, probably because of all this and the way that women are affected a little bit more extreme than men probably will be able to start working out around like 18 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years, when a woman cannot work out until maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But if you're a male and you are experiencing that to where you still can't work out at 2 or 3 years, then that's just the way your body is still healing. You will eventually get to that level of being able to work out and function more properly. You just have to give it more time. And that's just the way you're healing. But I have noticed it's a little bit more extreme for women. So that's not really fair if a man's saying to a woman, you need to work out. I'm going to take up for that. Like, I don't necessarily appreciate that, because there needs to be this information, this education where women are more sensitive and need to take that rest and just you're not being lazy. And I know some people who've told me that their family members think they're lazy because they can't do things. And that's so unfair, because we're not lazy. We just can. That's where you have to surrender to it. It's like, I physically cannot freaking do it. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
And then we can't worry about what other people are thinking, but of course it's in our ear and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I just want to really, really stress that if you cannot work out, you don't feel good, you're not lazy, you can't push yourself sometimes. You just can't. It can make things feel worse later. Not that you're not going to heal if you do it, but you're just not going to feel good for a while.
And one thing that I also want to share, because like I also have been noticing that men can be able to work out more, but I have been seeing their recovery journey, and they like somehow their adrenals are not maybe so bad affected, or some reason men can naturally deal more stress than women. That of course is the fact in this caffeine journey also. So then first when I when I was trying to exercise, and some women were reaching me out that how can you do that, and they cannot, and even the young women like in their 30s or even younger than that, so some cannot. So I just want to say that I couldn't either. I just pushed myself, and I don't recommend that. It's completely okay that if you can't. I was like a little bit stubborn, and I didn't listen myself. That didn't do me any good. I can say it didn't maybe hurt me, but I don't now see any point of that doing. Like, I was just like learning from the experience, like we all do in our own way, and some of are a little bit more stupid, like me, that they have to try all the hard ways. But just want you to know that there is nothing wrong with you, like Mandy said. Like, you're gonna be able one day, like we all are.
One day in your time. And thank you for sharing that, because yeah, you were pushing yourself because you were told, and you're stubborn, and felt this, that, ego, whatever it was. But you learned, like you said, I love that, because there's things that I learned, like doing carnivore. I thought that, and maybe for some people carnivore is the way to go. But like, I think that if your body's already stressed and you're healing, then you shouldn't try something like that. I think you just should, my opinion, here we go on opinion. I think that you definitely, in fact, you should eat. You should eat a lot during the day. Eat as much as you can, and drink your water. But doing something extreme, I just don't think that's just my opinion. I don't think that is the way to go. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you should be eating, donuts and cookies and McDonald's or anything like that. But I definitely just, that to me, that sounds extreme. That, it's just like, just eat as
good food,
clean as you can, as clean as you can afford. What does clean mean? But to some people it's different. Some people think they should be vegan. Some people think they should be more meat-based. It doesn't matter. Just eat, and just try not to do anything. Like, okay, here's an example. I think the further, because it's about growth, life is about growth, and I'm getting to that point where I do want more out of life, that more optimal life. I think that I really do believe that, and this is my own personal fact, that I don't think you can have an optimal life on caffeine. I just don't. Even if you think you're sleeping right, even if you think it's not affecting you, like, it's like, well, we're telling people, and we're not even telling people you have to quit caffeine, right?
No,
but
never.
In a sense, that's our message. Like, it's not really like you have to quit, but like, if someone is to quit, then we're not hurting it. Like, if people are watching and they're like, we're like, if we're planting the seed for them to, if they haven't quit yet, and to quit, that's only going to make their life more optimal. It's not going to hurt in any way. The only thing is, if you quit cold turkey and you do go through the symptoms, but that is just the way that the body needs to heal. But there's nothing wrong with you if you go through post-acute withdrawal. That's just the way that we heal for a lot of people. But and it is hard. I'm not going to say that it's not. But to get off the drug, and I always say this, you got to go through it to get through it.
Yes.
But yeah, a little long-winded again today.
Yeah, I'm just so happy and excited, and so thankful that we are sharing this, and so thankful for you, Mandy, because like, I always get excited when we do these lives, and there always comes something new out, because like you said, we are growing. And that's why I also want to share so honestly, because for me, I learned from my mistakes. So mistakes are not the bad thing in life. You do mistakes and you learn, and that's how we grow.
I love that.
Like the human being grow that way.
Exactly. Like, that's something that it's almost like I don't want to tell people to not drink alcohol or to not drink caffeine. I mean, the goal is to not do it, but it's almost, what you said is so beautiful, because if I never would have gone through what I went through the way I went through it, I would not be able to quit, and then understand and share the way I'm sharing, because I had to experience it for myself. And that the growth. I mean, it's because there are times, yeah, I could have gotten really alcohol I drank because I was self-medicating with caffeine because of the anxiety. And like, it's like, I don't want to be mad about it anymore, you know, because that's just the way that it happened. And now how beautiful is it that we are free and we're learning all this stuff and we're sharing it from our own experience, and that's all we can do. But yeah, it's about growth. You know, we're growing, we're learning every day. Like, we're not perfect. We're never saying that we are, but there is that whole thing of opinion and fact. And it is a fact that caffeine is a drug. And it is a fact that we quit. And it is a fact that we're healing. And it is a fact that we will be recovered.
Yes.
It is. And you can do whatever you want. If your journey is to do all kinds of things, you know, in the future when you're healed, you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a little bit of extend a little bit of just try to be kind when you don't understand what someone else is going through.
Yes.
You know, it's easier said than done when you haven't experienced it and you're just going on opinion and what you think, or maybe you have fear because you don't want it to happen to you, or you can't imagine that you could heal that long. Well, your journey is going to be different, but still have a little bit of patience and kindness to other people because you have no idea what they're going through.
Yes.
And what is it going to hurt to be kind to somebody else? You know, like being angry or being frustrated or not truly trusting or understanding what someone else is going through, that doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah.
But being kind and having empathy and understanding, that can only do good. So if someone else is going through something, it's not you, it's not your life, it's their life. They're just sharing their experience. And that's why I say all the time, like, try not to compare yourself to anybody. And that's with anything in life. But to be kind, anybody can be kind, you know. So I just want to extend that out because I see that a lot where, and there are so many people that are kind, but you know, it's just, I think that's just something to practice, and that comes with time and growth sometimes too. So
yeah, so important and so nice. Like, that's what I'm practicing, and I have been seeing huge like benefits.
yes,
like the people, like when we are kind, and when we try to like who are looking us to now. I cannot know how to be you or in your shoes. If I would be even one day in your shoes, I would see world very differently. So if we can be empathic to others and like see as their own miracle, even if you are like high dose of caffeine and you are watching that now, you are doing your own journey in your own way. And judgment-free channel this is. And also I point out that I did change my channel name now, Caffeine-Free Life. You probably noticed that. So I hope the more viewers will come also because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no judgment. It's so great. I love that. And that's why I just gravitated towards you, Ani, because of that. Your light, your love. It's just inevitable that that's what you share. You know, even when you first started this channel and you were suffering, you still wanted to help people, and you put that message out there, and all you can do is share your experience, and you were sharing it, but you were just so kind and had so much love in your heart, and it just 100% shines through. And so thank you so much for that, because you inspired me. And I just hope we continue to inspire the world and each other. And yeah, no judgment.
Yes. And
be kind.
And that's how when we help each other, we make this world always a better place. And that's what I want to also do when I spread this message from the caffeine. Even I have a little bit radical way to tell things. Yeah, I know that's just my personality and my way of doing things. I like that. But also being kind and understanding is always the way to go without like judging anyone. Oh, absolutely. My goodness, who is there? Absolutely. Who is that?
This is Abby, my in-laws. She's caffeine free. Yes. She's we're babysitting because my in-laws, my husband's mom and dad, are on their 50th anniversary cruise in Alaska.
Oh my
And
God.
so we're watching her for 2 weeks. And she's so great. And we lost our schnauzer last August. And so we haven't adopted another dog yet. And so it's been really nice to babysit. She's telling
Hello.
me it's time to go outside. She was like, oh, she makes
Yes.
these cute little noises. Oh,
Oh my
isn't that
goodness.
right? Are you saying
You are the cutest thing ever.
I'll take you out?
Okay, I
And then a
think
little dog love. I do. I miss Bella so much. But so
yes.
part of life.
Yes. I think we are close to 1 hour.
Does anybody?
Yeah, we can take the chat questions. There is some people in the chat, so if you wanna ask.
If anybody has anything to add, today's. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was I going to say? Yeah, clarity. I didn't really talk a lot about clarity, but we can talk about that the next time. I guess we did a little bit.
Yeah.
I was saying being free from the drug, it's definitely being on it. You might not have as much clarity. You might be getting there, but I think that like being off of it, it really does somehow just open up that clarity, open up the pineal gland, kind of like the third eye.
Yes.
And if people are doing great on it, I just think like, just think about how much better you could do, off of it maybe. I don't know.
Yes, you guys are amazing.
But some people don't want to, some people will never quit,
Yes.
and that's okay. Yes.
Yes, it's
So
okay.
anybody?
Anyone? Is there anyone out there who needs help? Okay, don't sing 90s songs, Annie. That's when you lose all the viewers.
Are we going to do our karaoke?
Yes, we are. One day we are.
No, we need to do karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, karaoke live.
Our 4 years anniversary.
And then
we're gonna do
no
that.
viewers.
That's gonna be so much.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and you know what else too? Just kind of like if I'm ever out and about, I could do it on my phone. I could do a video on my phone and just more of like me being out and about, more social or something, because people want to know, are you being